Hello, my name is Pastor Bryant Stewart, and I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee, and I pastor the College Hill Seventh-day Adventist Church. Today, my job is to talk about fraud protection. Now, normally when we think about fraud protection, we think of a system or a group of systems, or at least analyzers that make sure that they are constantly monitoring a set group of information to keep us from having our information, our identities, as well as any pertinent information to life stolen. I would like to suggest that the conversation surrounding HIV prevention, protection, PrEP, and PEP care is around the concept of making sure that we always create identity fraud protection systems to keep our families and the individuals safe. The primary idea is not just so much for the bloodline or for the body or for the soul, but it's also for the community that harbors and incubates and protects those people. Oftentimes, there's a major disparity, a major discouragement around us having these conversations. And I would like to suggest that it's because a lot of us have gotten to the place where we no longer associate ourselves with being a minority or just different. Different isn't bad because we call America the melting pot. But sometimes America has a tendency to politicize as well as forget where we have come from. Now, what's the reality with that? Because at some point, all of us were minorities. Remember the Pilgrims, when they began, they were a minority group that was trying to start just on a simple place like Plymouth Rock, and they found themselves in a world of trouble, and then they had to ask for reinforcements, and they had to ask for more community and more understanding and more awareness. And then being a person of color myself, I also understand the idea of being a constant minority, but sometimes when we get so much community, when we have a lot of success, when we have a lot of presence, we find ourselves forgetting what it's like to be needed, to need help, to need community, and to need, eventually, fraud protection. The craziest part is that so many different ideas, usually the stronger system, the supremacy, the abilities, the people that are away from some issues find themselves oftentimes trying to control narratives, trying to control positions, trying to politicize, trying to gain power from the differences of people, and trying to find ways to get their own best interests and self-interest really keyed into while using our story. So today I want to bring a very relevant, very simple, very common concept of Moses. Moses was a man written in the Bible, and he was a man that literally led a minority group out of a larger system of Egypt, and he allowed them to gain their freedom and their peace and their time with their process and with their God to get a chance to not just be protected, but to also continue to develop their identity and have a safe place to be strong. The part that I really want to focus on when it comes to this process is that usually, most of the time, whenever we find ourselves inside of a place where we are usually pressed, where we are usually afflicted, most of the times it's used to discourage our growth. It's used to make something seem other than. It's used to make us seem different than and not normal, and usually it's used to ostracize. But what we've seen in history, whether it be the Pilgrims that came over, or whether it actually be people of color that have decided that they were no longer going to stand for injustices, or whether it was any other minority group, usually what we discover is when they determine that they will not allow rules, laws, regulations, opinions, perceptions, systems, and things of that nature to stop them, what we find is that they gain a peace about their most inner self. And that self-peace becomes so strong. The ability to prosper, the ability to become dominant, the ability to become safe, the ability to grow in spite of all the different variables, all the different things that have kept them from themselves. The thing that literally tried to break them from who they were. The little thing that tried to make them feel as if something was wrong for just being who they are, or having something placed on them or acquired. Literally, the moment at which they gain peace with it and find the strength in the experience, they find the time to use it for power, is usually the immediate moment when we discover that people who were using them for their self-gain, all of a sudden are not okay with this place of confidence. The place of confidence comes from the idea that no matter what's inside of me or around me, it cannot stop me from growing to do a lot. From moving regardless to what tries to stop me. From holding regardless to what tries to let me go. And from operating in a way at which brings my best potential to pass. The part that I want to bring up the most about the children of Israel that I think a lot of people forget is that the oppression of Pharaoh wasn't that he asked them to make bricks without straw. He just told them to retrieve their own straw. And there's something about life when you have to develop your identity under pressure that literally causes an unstoppable force that no one on this earth can ever stop. The issue is that they had so many names thrown at them, that they were lazy, that they were sick, that they were broken, and that they had some other agenda to achieve. And they had so many different things that were placed on them. And literally what they did was they said, it doesn't matter. We're just going to keep going. Here's the part that I believe about fraud protection in regards to HIV prevention in the community that exists, is that too many of us have found the politics and all the different opinions and all the different categories and all the different things. First they were shunned, and then it was almost a forgotten conversation. Then it was a voided conversation and all these other things. And the more that we found people find themselves for whatever reason, for whatever situation, that they acquired the HIV virus. And it was so awkward because no one wanted to talk about it because there wasn't a community and a system of fraud protection to protect persons that had this conversation and this issue. Here's the part that I think is the most important, because this is the part that I think will save so many and love on so many more. Is that the community has to exist to keep the people not in the community uncomfortable and comfortable. But the goal is to make sure that the community around them gains confidence to make the difference, to allow for us to be protected in our minds, in our hearts, and in our souls. The part that I think we have to love and hang on to is, will we allow fraud protection within this experience to hold, to breathe, to love, to grow, to save, to measure? Will we protect the earth? We incubate, will we hold, will we join hands together to allow the most important thing to come to pass? Not to just save life, not just to protect it, but to build it. There are so many systems of isolation. And it has become a mantra within our country. And unfortunately, only one aspect of the mantra has been accepted in our religious spheres. We claim unity, but we behave divided. We make it seem as though Certain communities are not a part of our communities just because they're not a part of the role. But the truth is they're part of our family. The truth is the ignorance in our family allows for it to become even closer to us. I want to ask today, I believe I'm just about done, as some famous pastors say, is will we grab hand in hand together to not allow lives, love, and help to be attacked simply because they're unaware. Today I want to encourage us all to not allow the politics of pre-existing conditions or politics of different parts of states and countries making it comfortable, or the politics of the financial idea, or even the level of comfort within areas and regions to keep us from creating a system of love, a system of conversation, a system of communication, a system of availability, a system of test, a system of conversations to allow more people to fall prey to a virus just like COVID that takes lives and weakens our country, weakens our families, weakens our church communities. But yet, better yet, we take this opportunity to strengthen our environment, to make common not the contraction, but the availability and the potential of cuss words. To make available the potential and the ability to prevent as well as protect, and most importantly, aid all of our loved ones through the process of what will help them not be robbed of their identity, but to key in to the system that gives them strength to exist. Today, may the greatest fraud protection be the conversation that happens at your table.